Yeah, no, yeah. Don't give her, don't give her.
Well, let's see. Wonder if I can just send you the link somehow. Yeah, because look, mine's right here. See, Friday training right there. In between brew crew and training videos.
I wonder if it's hers is always the same thing right here, though, just the Zoom meeting.
I don't know even how I would do this. Where did my Zoom go up here?
Don't you love it?
What are you doing?
Hey, Susan.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, are you there?
Yes.
Hey, on my my Weichert, in the when you go over to
Quick tools, isn't it?
no, when you go to the company cloud,
Yeah, company.
mine
Mhm.
doesn't show Friday trainings. Autumn's does, but I don't have a way to get to the meeting.
Yeah, it's not there.
What in the world?
I know, right?
That's the weirdest thing.
Let me check it and see what's going on, if there's something funky on my end of it.
I don't know. It's crazy because it's like I'm looking through there and it's got the brew crew and all that, but it doesn't have Friday's training.
Yeah, it's just like it skips it.
Yeah, it goes Tuesday brew crew training videos. Weekly.
Mine does that. Hold on, let me see what's going on here.
If you could send me a link too, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
I don't know where to even.
Yeah, just try to click on the one of the old meetings, but yeah, it won't let me in.
Let's see here.
I don't know.
I'm talking with the trainer.
It's the weirdest.
That's really crazy. And now my puppy's gonna go nuts.
That's what
Terry
it's
just
my
left.
Weichert
I guess we need to start
website thing.
video.
mine, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Weird.
That's a good question. That's what she's trying to find out.
It's like I'm the only one that has it.
We
That's
call
just weird.
we
I just went in and added it back. Let me move it up.
she
toward the
we
top.
call her the Oracle.
Mhm.
It was gone from mine, so I don't
Really?
know.
Yes,
Yeah.
many times now.
That's weird.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. All right, so log out and log back in and tell me if it's there.
Indeed, let the Oracle get me on the, that's right.
That's a little
There
weird.
it is. It's on mine now, Susan.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It was off of mine too. So I
Oh,
went in and
really?
Thinking it's
re-add- yeah, I
about
went
it.
in and re-added it.
It's like dingy looking. I wonder if it's just the way he's transferred it in.
I don't know, because it would tell you if it was almost
It's
out.
Like it's scanned, he scanned
Yeah,
that.
and she said, the trainer said it was off on hers too, so.
That's.
Thanks, Susan.
You're welcome. We'll get started in a minute.
Okay.
I don't think it's gave any alert, she said. Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to shoot for 6.
Hey, guys, for stuff that's not CE, you could turn this on your TV in the lobby and sit in your chairs relaxing and watch it.
I don't guess you could hear me when I'm muted. I said, how in the world am I do that then?
Well, you just go over there to that computer that's attached to that TV and go to my Weichert and log into it right there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have all that set up.
You
All
know,
I have it set up for on that one is just Todd's meeting.
You just have to pull up your website out there. You already have to do
yeah, just go to my Wycert and log in and out there and
Next
click on the
Friday.
link.
Yeah. We'll prepare for that next one.
Yeah. Cause y'all are the only people that ever come, so.
Indeed. Well, you were doing those, why can't, you were doing those, Georgia contracts and all that other stuff. And I'm like, we're the only ones that show up and now she's cut us out.
Yeah, well, so the Chattanooga agents are really struggling right now and nobody will listen to me. It was hard on them moving to Cleveland because I kept them up top notch, everything that was going on in the market. And one of them called me here a couple of weeks ago and said, I have no idea what's going on in the market. She said, I know I could look it all up myself, but you always took care of that. And we talked about it at sales meeting and kept us all on top of everything. She said, I'm just floundering down here.
Oh, no.
I'm worried about them,
Right. That stinks.
But they had said they needed some Georgia forms training. That's why I did a Georgia form.
Well, did you have good attendance?
I had those core people. Yeah.
Well, that's good. As long as you had them. I mean, hate to put it on and then nobody show up.
And then they still whine that they don't know what to do.
Indeed. How did you break your foot?
I feel.
How?
Oh, hold on. I gotta hold on. I know what's wrong. I'm hearing things and then I remembered I'm recording on YouTube. I was out, I was cutting, we had a wisteria vine that has just went crazy. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cut that thing down. So I was out there and I was cutting on it in the yard. And in 2011, when the tornado came through and took those 16 trees out of our yard, there was a great big tree in our front yard and there was roots. And I think that's now died, it's disintegrated in the ground. And so we have some ruts that Terry has to fill up. And I just stepped wrong in one of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did about the same thing, but I broke my tailbone.
Oh my Lord.
I didn't just break it, I broke it off.
Oh God.
Indeed. So, and that's
just float around in there.
Yep. Tomorrow will be 4 weeks that happened. I'm just out playing in my yard, trying to get this stupid trellis up. And like, it was like a shovel, like you would jump on it, like you would a shovel. And I jumped on it. And of course, now if I would have went forward, I would have went down this big embankment. So I kind of over exaggerated, I think, when I went to go in and it didn't go. And I went backwards, my feet went up in the air. This steel pole came back and hit me, bruised my leg up. And I didn't even know it because when I hit the ground, I was just like, oh dear God, I think I'm going to throw up and I'm going to pass out. And so I was like, I need to get somewhere I can lay down because in my yard, there's so much gravel. And so I got to the lawnmower and I laid down on the lawnmower and I called Tim. He's like, where are you at? I said, I'm laying on the lawnmower. Come help me in the house.
Oh my.
And so he runs out the back door. I never put that mower in the backyard. Why he ran out the back is beyond me. And then, where are you? I'm like, I'm out front on the lawnmower. He helps me in the house. I'm like, go get me the trash can. I think I'm gonna throw up. So it went on to a week and I said, well, maybe I just bruised it really bad. And then I went to the chiropractor and I said, hey, will you x-ray my butt? And sure enough, it broke it plumb in half.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, mine's still like I taught yesterday in Nashville and it swells up when I stand on it too long and it hurts. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just hurts. I don't know what, and it's been 5 or 6 weeks for me now.
Right.
But he said it's 8 to 12 weeks because
that's exactly right.
So
yeah, I've just been icing like a fiend.
yeah, absolutely. I got my coughing husband over here. He said you diagnosed him.
Oh yes. Kept coughing during the meeting. I said, do you take blood pressure medicine? He said, I do. I said, you got the signature cough.
Well, bless his heart, we started thinking, and it's been since they put him on that a couple of years, that I tell him all the time, that sounds horrible. You need to go to the doctor and figure out what that is. I mean, but he hadn't done anything. So now he's insisting that it is the cough you told him about. So
Well, tell him to look up blood pressure medicine because it does. There's a
Yeah.
signature cough with it.
He did. He researched it. Are you taking that dog with you or she's staying with me? She's staying with me. Okay, well, get out because she's going to whimper and I need to start class. We got, I finally got a booth in the Brick Brack Antique store, and I've got to go do that today. And so Terry's coming to Etowah to get a lockbox, and Athens to get a lockbox, and he's doing some things, and then we're going to go take care of that booth this afternoon. But I wanted to talk to you guys about the buyer rep agreement, and I did it on Forum Friday because there's a few things that we've got to talk about. And I apologize, you're going to hear her whine for a minute, but she'll get over it. She's spoiled to her daddy, let's just say that. So I want to give you some background of kind of what's been going on, because this is where this is all going to come from. So there's lawsuits out there and have been since 2019 or so. And she, hold on just one second. I had to call her and let her know she wasn't by herself. So all these lawsuits have been going on, and the Department of Justice got into them. And then this past March, they became a class action lawsuit. And now there have been two settlements. Remax settled for $55 million, and Anywhere, which is Coldwell Banker, Century 21, all those folks, they settled. See, they're wanting me to sign in because I've looked at this so many times, but they settled for $83.5 million. Okay. And with those settlements comes a statement that says, and they are going to adjust their business practices. Okay. So don't know what that is yet, adjusting business practices. However, this happened last week or so. Realtrax is the MLS that's in Middle Tennessee, because they only have one MLS and like at least seven associations of one MLS. On the 20th of September, they made it to where that in the compensation field, you used to have to put something other than zero. You couldn't put zero. Well, now you can put zero. That the seller's not going to pay any compensation to a buyer's agent. Okay, because that's part of the lawsuit, is that sellers are forced to put that into the MLS. There's a lot of y'all, and we all have our own opinion about it and all that stuff. But
Susan, I have a question about that.
okay.
So does the buyer not pay for that? Because that's in the purchase price of the house.
I agree. And that says it in here in some part of the, if you go and read a lot of the stuff, it will talk about the fact that the buyer is the one who pays it. But they're saying that because they have to put an amount in there that agents aren't showing houses. It says it in this article, actually, that that the agents will show houses with lower commissions, and it's us. You know, we have that issue from time to time. Agents will, you know, they want more money, right? The buyer's agents do. So sometimes they'll only show homes with higher commissions, or they won't show homes where the seller's offering a lower buyer broker commission. So that's where it's all coming from. Well, when it first started back in 2019, right here in October, the Department of Justice got in on it. And they gave National Association of Realtors 45 days to come up with a plan to help fix the situation, if you will. And this is a real short version of this. This is so convoluted, it's ridiculous. Then when NAR came up with their answer for Department of Justice, they basically said, well, we've changed our mind. We're not going to settle. We're going to move forward with the case. Well, then the National Association of Realtors had already come up with some of their stuff. And this was back in 2021. And so that next year, when they amended the Code of Ethics for 2022, they added this statement, or there was another statement, and then they amended it to what we have here today. And it says, realtors must not represent that their brokerage services to a client or customer are free or available at no cost to their clients, unless the realtor will receive no financial compensation from any source for their services. So part of the issue is that we have not been transparent with buyers and sellers about commission. And of course, that's in Article 1 of the code. And so there's just been a lot of argument about it. And it's so convoluted at this point. There's so much going on. So you did have Anywhere went ahead and settled. RE/MAX went ahead and settled. But the National Association of Realtors is not going to settle. And I'm glad they're not going to settle. Okay. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But these MLSs that you see here on the screen, I know it might be small, but are the ones that are also in the lawsuit. Okay. So if these MLSs make changes, then of course the other MLSs across the country are probably going to follow suit or have to follow suit. Okay. And I found it very interesting that RealTracs just went ahead and made the decision to do that. I don't know what happened. I have no idea. I don't know why they did it. I don't know why. So our MLSs, you don't see any of our Tennessee MLSs in here. Doesn't mean they can't be, they won't be next, I guess. And 19 and 20, 21, 22. So 4 years this has been going on. And I guess RE/MAX and Anywhere just got tired of doing and being in the middle of it and not knowing what they needed to do. But I will say some of the articles that I've read, those amounts of money that they came up with, from what I could tell from the article, it appears that they looked at their debt and then decided how much money they could pay them without actually putting them out of business. And that's where they come up with those numbers at. But right now, everybody is wondering how they're going to adjust their services. And I mean, that's what I'm wondering. I just want to sell real estate and you guys tell me what I need to do. Okay, let's just do it and go on. But there's no telling what's going to happen because it is in that class action category at this time, which is ridiculous. Nobody's going to get a whole bunch of money except the attorneys. But we have to think about that when we are working with our buyer representation agreement, because over the years, we might have said that, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you don't have to worry about paying us a commission because the seller will offer us a commission in the MLS and we can get our commission that way. Well, we can't tell them that anymore. We can't tell them that they won't end up owing us a commission at some point.
Hey,
Okay.
Susan,
Mhm.
I've been reading on this as well, and I know some of the agents that in the comment sections, they were saying that that when they have buyers, that they would go in and say, well, the other, you know, the selling agent isn't offering, but like 1% in our contract, it shows that I will be paid 3%. So you're now responsible for 2%. And now these buyers are saying, oh, well, then we don't even want to look at that house because they know that they're going to be responsible. So that's just, I mean, it's cutting off the right hand for the left.
It is. And, you know, it's one of those points too, that like, just because the sellers can offer 0, don't mean they should, right? Because the truth of the matter is, if a buyer has to pay, that's going to be what happens. They're going to say, I don't want to see that house. And it's just not a good situation all the way around. So personal opinion here, complete personal opinion, relating this back to probably 2003, 4, 5 time frame in our real estate world of when the banks were trying to get into real estate and the comments about why do we make X number of percentage, 6%, you know, when all these other countries are working and selling real estate for a total of 1 to 3% commission. And we've seen people come in and offer that commission. And I think they're just trying to get us to lower our commissions. That's what I think they're trying to do. It's not like sellers haven't made a whole lot of money over the last 5 years or so in this market. I mean, prices on houses have tripled at least in a lot of areas. And so I just want them to tell me what we need to do and how we need to do it. That's what I want them to do. And all this yah-yah that's going on when we're talking about the buyer agency agreement. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today, because I know that there are areas in the MLSs that we're all in where it's a constant barrage from agents wanting to negotiate their commission. Of course, commission is always negotiable, but why do I need to negotiate commission on every deal that I do? I don't understand that. If I tell you that I have negotiated with the seller to pay 2.5% in the MLS, and that's what's in the MLS, then that's what you're going to get paid. We're not supposed to be looking out after our best interest. We're supposed to be looking out after the buyers and sellers' best interest, okay? And of course, is it in the buyer's best interest if they have to pay another 0.5%? I don't know. I don't know if it is. But you could also put into your special stipulations that you'll take whatever's offered in the MLS on your buyer rep agreement, okay?
But I thought being the part of the MLS, that's part of it is that you offer a co-op.
That is it. And that's the rule they're going after, is that you have to offer a co-op for it to be in the MLS. Or going after that rule also. It is. That's what it is. And we're going backwards because in the early 80s in real estate, there were buyers, but there was no buyer representation. Everybody represented the seller. And it was just in that traditional agency thing. We truly sold mostly our own listings. But we all listed a lot. We did a whole lot of listing, but we didn't have nowhere near the number of real estate agents we have today either. Okay, there wasn't this many real estate agents. But I just wanted to do this and talk to you guys again about the buyer rep agreement and, the fact that you can't put 0 in this blank down here anymore. Okay, you can't put 0 there. You've got to put something because of that code of ethics says you can't tell them your services are free unless you're not going to get paid by anybody. So you can't put 0 in the blank of what they're going to pay you. So with our policies here at Weicker, we're supposed to offer at least, I think it's 2.5% to other offices. I probably should have read the policies and procedures again to make sure I was right about that, but I think that's what it is. We got to split at least 2.5% with other offices. So when we're working with buyers, honestly, when's the last time you got a full-on 3% commission? They're out there, right? But not all the time. So, but if you put 3% in here, again, like we were just saying, and they're only offering 2.5%, then the way this contract is written, the buyer is going to go ahead and make that difference up down here. Okay. Buyer agrees to pay the broker the difference at closing. Okay. 0.5% or even 1%, or what if they're offering $1? And right now the Tennessee Realtor says that we're not supposed to put our commission in a purchase and sale agreement, but the compensation agreement is written up only for firm to firm. So they're going to have to come up with something to negotiate commission directly with sellers. You understand what I'm saying about that? Because if we're going to have to do that, if we're going to have to ask for the seller to pay buyer commission or more buyer commission or whatever, we're going to have a form to do that. And because it's broker to broker right now. So it's going to be a whole lot of changes if they change that way. I don't know why, but I kind of feel like NAR may win at some point on this. I do. I'm hoping that they do. But I just want our agents to know you can't put 0 in this blank anymore. You've got to know how to negotiate that and talk with the buyer. And the best way to do it is to read it to them and talk to them about it. Okay. Don't just skip it or not talk to them about it, because you have to talk to them about it. Yes. And yes, I am. So, but the buyer's rep agreement as itself goes, and you need to be very particular about what you put in here. Okay. But we all know too, we've had buyers that will tell us what they want, and then they end up buying something that's totally different from what they told us they wanted, right? So when you put stuff in here, it gets sticky if they start then wanting to look at other things. Does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about? Because if they've contracted with you to search for this specific type of property, then they want to change what they're searching for, then we need to amend this. Okay, and so it gets sticky when it is when you are talking about really negotiating a buyer's rep agreement. And the truth of the matter is, most folks, probably not all you guys because you're in class, but most folks will just add this to the package when they make an offer and don't even explain this to them. You want me to be your agent? Great. I'll put the form in with the purchase and sale agreement and we'll go there. And you know, that's definitely not the way to do things. You have got to explain what this form is. Specifically, this sentence right here. They have to understand that while they're under contract with you, they have to purchase property through you. That is extremely important that they understand that, okay? And you really need to go over all of these things with you. Again, if they utilize the services of another real estate broker or deal solely with a seller's agent or the seller, they still owe a commission to you, okay? It's important that they understand that they are exclusively working with you. And that's the title of the form, right? But for some reason, they don't understand that. And the only thing that I can come across that the reason they don't understand it, it wasn't explained to them. But there are people you can talk to your blue in the face and they still don't get stuff. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? But you need to come up with a system in your systems of working with buyers that will show in some way that you go over agency with them on a regular basis. And again, I'm preaching to the choir. I see who I was on here. I'm preaching to the choir, okay? The people that need to be on here aren't on here. But it's extremely important that you explain to them what their duties are to you. And you don't put a zero here, okay? And that's going to cause them to go, when there's a number in there, right? So you're going to have to explain that to them. How do you explain it, Jennifer? How do you explain to them when you put a number in there?
Actually, I try not to work with buyers, but
I'm with you. I'm with you.
you have to list to last, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't care for working with buyers myself. And a lot of times when I work with buyers, I don't even use this.
Right. Well, I mean, it's
going
going to have to be that way. Yeah. You're just
Yeah.
going to have to say that, you know, times are changing and that you're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to pay it if you want to be represented.
And so also, if I'm not mistaken, the rules have changed already where the buyer's brokerage, what the buyer's agent is going to make is supposed to print out on all the MLS sheets now. Has anybody noticed if that's happening? So like if I send MLS listings to a buyer, it will show them the co-op compensation. Okay. And so that's, I can tell them, you can look on that detail sheet and be able to see the compensation the other office is offering me. Has anybody noticed? I haven't noticed because I'm like you, Jennifer. I try my best not to work with a bunch of buyers, but you know, I haven't. Dottie, you work with a bunch of buyers. Have you noticed it at all?
I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, actually, even when I give because I'm not a member of River Counties. So when I go to look at one for River Counties, I'm not even able to see it. I have to have Tim print it up for me so I can see what the commission split is.
Yeah, I've had that same thing, Jennifer. Like on the couple of hours I've had, it's been River County or a different MLS, and like you can't see it. You have to ask the listing agent, what's your cooperative?
That's a true statement. And that is in line with the Code of Ethics, Article 3. It says that we should, let me pull that up over here for you. In Article 3, it says we should ascertain what our commission is going to be before we start beginning efforts of cooperation. Okay. Terms of compensation, if any, shall be ascertained by cooperating brokers before beginning efforts to accept the offer of cooperation. So in reality, we should really be, since we're data sharing with everybody now, right? We're data sharing. And Jennifer, yeah, you can see it, but you you don't have that blanket offer of compensation, right? So you don't even really know what to ask for, correct? Because you got to look and see what they're offering. I'm one of those realtors, a little bit of money's better than no money. I'm going to sit right here and tell you I have never asked a listing agent to increase my commission. Never, not one time. Because I just sell property, take what's offered to me, and go to the next deal. I don't have very much understanding of someone that is going to try to negotiate commission like that. There was something in our office just a few weeks ago. The guy plainly said in text that he wasn't going to send the offer over if they didn't adjust the commission and pay him more. Well, you can't do that. Yeah, you can't do that. And he knows better. He's been in all kinds of my classes. He knows better than that, but he put that in a text message. So you really, especially with our sharing of the MLS data, you really need to send over the compensation agreement and get it signed before you go show somebody property, because you could show it and not even get paid.
Well, then it looks like that we're not helping the consumer. Then it looks like we're after the almighty dollar.
Right, right. Well, and you're right. You're right. That's why I wish we had a regional MLS where we didn't have to worry about all that. That would just really be so much easier for all of us if we were like Middle Tennessee and just had one MLS over here on the east side of the state, and we just went and sold real estate. We didn't have to think about it. You know, that's what I wish. But it puts us in a position to have to talk about money where it looks like we're after the almighty dollar. That's where it puts us in the position at. But, you know, we would not go and work over at Walmart or Ross or Food City and not expect to get paid. So buyers, if you explain it to them, I think they understand it. They do understand it. And I have, and I don't remember, but I have language that is in the buyer representation agreement. And I'm trying to remember if we put it in our template that says we'll take whatever's offered in the MLS. Let's just check that out so that I can give you a definite answer, because Lord knows we got enough stuff in our templates. And I don't know, how do you feel about that? That you'll take whatever's offered in the MLS. How do you guys feel about that?
I take whatever's in the MLS too. One time I've asked for more, and it was because the seller was really being hard to get along with. But I'm not a member of Knoxville, Jennifer. So if I'm going to show property in Knoxville, right, I don't know if they're going to pay me or not. So I call them and I just ask them, are you willing to pay commission? And because I'm not in your MLS. And most of the time, especially the guys that sell land, they're like, why would I not? I want to sell this. You know, if they're older realtors and they're wanting to work with their seller, then they'll pay the commission.
Yep, I've got it in there. So it's automatically printing on y'all's buyer's rep agreements. If you use a buyer rep agreement, that in the event the amount of any cooperating compensation paid by seller or seller's broker is less than the amount listed above, broker agrees to accept the amount of cooperating compensation offered by seller or seller's broker, which of course, when you get into your transaction, you could remove at any time, but I put it in there. So that should really make buyers feel more comfortable. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's fine unless it's zero.
Well, and that's exactly why we're talking about this today, because is it going to be zero? I don't know. Could it be zero? Yeah, it could be with all this stuff that is going on.
I've already heard in Knoxville, they are doing, some of the agents are already doing that. They're offering a 2% and then nothing for the buyer's agent.
Okay, explain that to me. They're offering 2% and nothing for the buyer's agent.
Correct. They'll say, we'll
2% for listing.
Yes, we'll list it for 2% and will not offer the buyer's agent anything. So they're getting the listings.
Yeah. So do you know if when they are offering and they're taking listings at that, which we need to understand, that may be where this is headed, are those really lower numbers altogether. Do you know, and you may not know, when they're, is that for full service real estate? Are they doing everything for that 2%? Do you know? Or are they specifically and individually waiving things? Because they've got to do at least these things.
I believe it's full service. They're advertising it as full service.
Oh, I would love to see one of those. Yeah, I would love to see one of those listings that I would like to see how they're, I just want to see how they're doing it, you know, just to understand how they're doing it. But I think when we're negotiating our buyer's representation agreement, we've got to get pretty specific right here. And there may need to be a statement added to that, something to, and I hadn't even thought about this till right now, but something to the effect of, and any other property buyer becomes interested in, or something like that, so that they can't come back and say, well, I told you I wanted here, here, and here, this, that, and the other, and we bought something that wasn't this, that, and the other. It was something totally different, and try to get out of their buyer rep of paying you commission, because that could happen too. Okay, so I think that maybe we need to think about what we're putting in here when we're looking at price range and terms. Of course, sources to be searched, that's pretty easy. But
Something more encompassing.
yeah, the general description, size, and location, I think we need to be pretty descriptive right there. And then add a statement, and I'll think about what that statement needs to say. If y'all have any ideas, shoot it to me in an email, and we'll talk about it in our next managers meeting and see if that's something that we want to deal with.
Do you
But the-
think we need to be real specific there? Because I leave it real general, because sometimes buyers don't know what they want when they start
Yep.
out.
And that's what I've always done, Dottie, is I've left it very, very general.
Mhm.
You know, that, and that might be the good idea to do. General description, size and location, single family home, you know, 3+ bedrooms, 2 or more baths, something very generic like that in Bradley County. I mean, I've always felt you should be generic that way.
Mhm.
That way, if you go off of that, it would fit. Does that make sense?
That's what I do.
Yeah. 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 Got that. Just, I'm really concerned about how all of this is going to adjust the way we do business. And I'm trying not to let it affect me. I just want to go sell real estate. I don't want to have to think about it, but I just want to keep you guys abreast of what's going on, because I don't want it to just slap you in the face. But I do know that you need to know that you can't put a 0 in here anymore. That was the big thing for today, is you cannot put a 0 in compensation because of the code of ethics and the way the code of ethics is worded right now. So you're going to have to discuss compensation.
Unless you're going to
And-
work for free.
Yeah, unless you're going to work for free, which I don't think anybody is going to work for free. And, you know, right here, there's actually a notice in here that they're not fixed by law. And so just like on your listing agreements in the past, people have been told, blame it on your broker. You know, if you go out to a listing and the seller wants you to list for 2% total, blame it on the broker and say, you know, our policy is this, and I'll have to get clearance from the broker before I can do that. And, you know, that's just where you go. Same thing here. Okay. Blame it on the broker as far as what you put in that blank goes. And the carryover clause. Now, the carryover clause, of course, is if you introduce that buyer to any properties, right? So what do you guys usually put in there when you use this form?
90.
90? Yeah,
I put
in
100.
today's market, 90 will work just fine. As we start changing, it may need to increase. Okay. And explaining agency. Okay, explaining agency is very, very important, because if you fill out and y'all sign this form, then you're this designated agent for the buyer. And that's, I love this last sentence, that you're going to work as an advocate for the best interest of the buyer. So that's what should sell them on anything. And you're going to owe them all these duties here. And then this designated agency stuff. Have you ever had a buyer that you had a representation agreement with get interested in one of your listings? Not lately. It don't seem, nobody's answering
Say
that.
that again.
If you've ever had a buyer's rep agreement with somebody and then maybe you go list a house and you think this would work perfectly for them. So now you've got 2 representation agreements in place, right?
Yes.
So that's when you default to facilitator. That's the only time you default. You don't have to default. But like you, Jennifer, I've worked so much with sellers. I haven't had that scenario happen to me very often because I work with sellers. But we have to help them understand how agency works because it's confusing to folks. Now, I have to tell you something that I was wrong on, okay? That escrow agreement, Tennessee Realtors has said to use that for title companies. Well, I've gotten in touch with them. That won't work. If you go and read that form is not going to work the way it is. You could make it work, but the way it's written, it is not going to work just for a title company holding earnest money. So I've let them know that we probably need to come up with some kind of form that says the title company will go by the rules of the contract, just so you know. Okay, so
What's the number on that form? Do you know right off?
is it 482 maybe? 482? It's called the escrow agreement. And that's what they told us that we needed to use when the title company was holding the earnest money. And I got into studying that form. As a matter of fact, that's the reason I canceled the class last week, because I got into studying that form. And I mean, I hate to say this, not y'all, because y'all are here in class, but people who don't know and understand forms and go to the forms classes, they would be very struggling to fill that form out the way it is. It's very legalistic. So anyway, I was thinking maybe we need to come up with something, but if we're writing up an offer, we need to put it that Weichert holds it anyway. Now, this is really important that we discuss with buyers too, while we are talking about the commission and we're talking about being an advocate for them, right? Line 180 may show the same properties to other prospective buyers. I have had a buyer say, well, why would you do that? Because I'm a buyer and I'm looking in this price range. Why would you show other buyers houses that I might be interested in? And I never thought about it before until somebody brought that up to me. And, I had to sit down and explain to them that I'm working usually between Terry and I, we're working with multiple buyers and a lot of times in the same price range. And we had to have a talk about it. But some may balk at that, especially if they think they're going to have to pay money. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the listing agreement, you're just working for that one seller. But with this buyer agreement, I might have 4 buyer agreements with 4 buyers all in the same price range. Now, I will tell you that Tennessee Realtor says if you have 2 buyers that are interested in the same property that you have buyer representation agreements with, you should refer one of them out. You should not write both of them up. Can you? Yes. Should you? No. Because of the liability of that. And because if you're writing 2 offers, and one's offering one thing, one's offering something else, and you've got knowledge of both of those offers at that point. So to get everybody on a fair plane, then you've got to maybe refer one of those out. Tennessee Realtors recommends that you do that. So it's kind of a weird situation. If you ask me, you got to explain to them that you're going to show other buyers, but then if you get 2 buyers interested in the same property, what do? And Tennessee Realtor says you should refer one of them out. I have never truly cared for this agreement. Do I think buyers deserve representation? Absolutely, I do. But I just have not felt comfortable with it. And I don't know if requiring them to pay money is going to make it easier or not. I've had good results when I've used it and I've had bad results when I've used it. I had one couple from California. I showed them what I call my token houses, a couple of houses. And then they basically told me off that I didn't have them sign a buyer's rep agreement the first moment I met them. What would you say to somebody that said that to you? Why are we waiting till now? You've already showed us a couple of houses. Why are we waiting till now to talk about a buyer's representation agreement?
Well, because, you know, you do a couple, you may not like me, I may not like you, and I don't want to be in agreement, and you don't want to be in agreement with somebody you don't work with. So we've moved forward, therefore, we have a buyer's agreement.
Right, yeah. And one of the things that we used to talk about and still talk about in the ABR classes, you know, you don't always know if you want to get married on the first date or not. You know, so you gotta get to know each other a little bit. But it's extremely important that when we are talking about and the buyer's rep agreement with the buyers under this number 7, limitations on the broker's authority and responsibility, if you will notice, if you read this, that it's basically the same information that's on the disclaimer notice. Okay, I mean, it's got all the same things. So it's and here we are. We're going to be telling buyers that we won't really help with any of this stuff, but you got to pay me. Do you see what? I just think this is the craziest thing in the world. I just think it's the craziest thing in the world. But that's what we have to do. Okay. We're not experts in anything. Can we answer a question? Sure, we can answer a question, but we advise them to seek expert advice. And so it's really, I just want them to tell me what we need to do because I'm a rules follower, and I will then tell y'all what we need to do, and we'll just go from there, right? But I don't know how this is going to come out. How has anybody been handling Section 8 since it came out in July? Sanction foreign businesses, governments, and non-resident aliens. I mean, do you just ask somebody, have you been sanctioned as a foreign business, or are you a non-resident alien? To me, that just gets you right on the line with the fair housing violation.
Exactly, discriminations.
So I did ask Addison, the hotline attorney, I said, how would you think that we should talk about this? And she said, you just mention to them that you're notifying them that Tennessee has a law now against sanctioned foreign businesses and governments and non-resident aliens, and that when they sign this, they're warranting that they're not a sanctioned non-resident alien, and you're not a agent, trustee, or fiduciary of a sanctioned foreign business or a sanctioned foreign government as defined by Tennessee, and it's their responsibility to make sure they're not on that list. I don't like having lists of people, but Tennessee does. Did anybody go look this stuff up when they sent it out? You can click on a link and go see that stuff. So just be very careful about how you talk about that. And it's basically, when you sign this, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're warranting that you're not a sanctioned foreign business, a government, or a non-resident alien. So, and then you get into all this terminology and all this stuff here and the legal documents. Anybody ever know, because I think there's a few of us that might have been with other companies before we came to Weicker. Have you ever heard of a brokerage forcing a buyer to pay money because the buyer did not want to be represented by that brokerage anymore? Like, let's say you put 3 in the blank and you don't put that in special steps that you'll take what's in the MLS, and you only get paid 2. And the buyer's like, well, I'm not going to pay you the extra 1%. Do you know of any company that's ever went after the buyer for the additional money? I can't think of a single one. And when I was with Crylike, I mean, they had, 130 offices all over 3 or 4 different states, or 6 or 7 or however many it was. And I don't know of any time that our corporate attorneys ever took anybody to court over that. So truth be known, the buyers could just walk without paying any extra money, right? So it's important that we do cover that with them. Now, I know this hasn't been a line-by-line discussion of the buyer's representation agreement. I just wanted you to know for sure you can't put a 0 in there anymore. I wanted you to make sure that you are going over this with buyers, basically section by section, right? And some of it line by line. And I want you to know that it is on our checklist but it is not a requirement that a buyer sign a buyer's representation agreement. You can't make them sign a buyer's representation agreement. I have had questions lately that because it's on our checklist that you have to have it, and you don't have to have it unless the only time you have to have a buyer's representation agreement is if you turn in another form called the confirmation of agency. And when you turn in the confirmation of agency, if you have checked the box that says you're the designated agent for the buyer, then you must have a buyer's representation agreement at that point. Okay. So, and you don't have to have the buyer's representation agreement. It'd be like going out to a listing and that seller having to list his property with you. He don't have to, he has a choice to or not. Buyer has a choice. And I think that while all of this stuff is going on, it's a real good idea that we actually use as many agency forms and agency disclosure forms that we can. And I hope you guys are you guys using that when buying your home also? Are you using that flyer from Tennessee Realtors at all? I'm hoping I can find it. Let's see here. I don't know where I got it at. I got to look for it. Called When Buying Your Home. Anybody using that? We have it uploaded into your documents section automatically in your transactions. It's in your templates. And so, but I don't know if anybody's using it or not. I swear I can't ever find anything. That's what happens when you have 7,000 things.
It's when buying your next property, isn't it?
Yeah, when buying, I don't know, something like that. Let's see, let's look for it. And if you're not using it, like I say, it's in there. And you can use it, and you can even put it in and have them sign it. Okay, you can upload it and put it in through Authentisign with your buyer's package. Yeah, this is one I had somebody sign because it's got the Authentisign thing on it here. So this is what it looks like, and it is sitting in the document section of your transaction desk transaction. So see, I had them sign it here at the bottom because we want to make sure that they know what they're supposed to do. We want to make sure that they know what they're supposed to do when it comes to agency, and they can make the choice of what they want to do. And I really encourage you that you do your agency forms and our inner office type forms in a different signing than you do the purchase and sale agreement. Now, I know there are times that can't happen because everything's happening too fast in today's market. But if you have the opportunity to work with a buyer, then, and you're able to have a few days with them, okay, or a week or 2 or 3 weeks, go ahead and do a signing of the agency stuff. Get that stuff out of the way. Don't wait for it until you've got the offer, the purchase and sale agreement, because that's a lot of stuff to take in itself, those 11 pages. So you want to get your agency stuff over with. So the best practice is when you start working with a buyer is go ahead and create a transaction and give them vendor lists and give them the brochure about agency. Talk to them about agency and find out what they want. It's not always possible. I understand. I get it. You know, because I mean, people are calling all the time going, hey, I see this house. Let's go look at it because I want to make an offer on it if it's right. And you're doing everything at once, right? But if the possibility is there to do that, and even if you're doing everything at once, do 2 signings, do your agency and inner office forms, and then do the purchase and sale agreement so they can have a minute to understand it. Truth is, I don't think they read anything. Do y'all think they're reading stuff? I don't think they read anything. You know, I kind of miss the days that we brought buyers into our office and set them down and went over stuff with them and talked to them about things. I miss that quite a bit. And so, but try your best to do those things that way. I also want to share with you something that happened yesterday with us. There is a title company in Dayton. It's called Preferred Title. And I'm telling you this because I want you to be careful. Because yesterday they sent to Terry, to the other agent, and to the buyer an email with the wiring instructions attached as a Word document. Okay, so be very careful if you get that, because now, I mean, we're all involved in it. Terry is, and all to where somebody could commit wire fraud with that, because the account number is a Word document attached to an unsecured email. And that makes me wonder if that title company is CFPB compliant, because one of the CFPB rules is it has to be encrypted. So just be careful when you are getting things like that. And I've not heard of this title company before. I don't know anything about them, and I'm not talking bad about them. I'm just worried that they could have a problem come up for their buyer, for their sale. Our sellers is what it was, and they copied our sellers. They copied everybody on the buyer's wiring instructions. So be very careful with that stuff, and have that conversation with your buyer when you are talking with them about all the other things that we have to talk with them about. All right, I think I've wasted enough of your time, but the main thing is no more zeros in this blank. No more zeros in this blank. And check that language if you're going to fill this out. That's automatically on there. And let's think about this right here, and maybe we can talk about it in a brew crew or something again, because there are two train of thoughts there. You know, you want to put what they're wanting and have a statement of if they decide on something totally different than what they tell you about, because that happens. This is horrible, but I don't think that they would relate that back right now. But I don't know what's coming back, you know, down the pike with everything else that's going on. I mean, who thought sellers would get a class action lawsuit and sue realtors for paying buyer commissions? I never thought that would happen. But we've got to be careful. Do y'all have any questions?
I don't even understand how that's even possible, because when you sit down with your seller and you go over that this 6%, and then you tell them how the breakdown is, you know, that I don't get the full 6%, that I split that with another person who brings me brings you the buyer for this property for their efforts, you know, so I don't even, it doesn't even make sense.
And when I remember when we didn't have, of course, MLS like we've got right now. I mean, when I moved home to Tennessee and got my license here, I mean, they were just getting computerized MLS. I mean, we still had the books, but we had like one computer. I was with Century 21. We had one computer in the office, and every night before we went home, you had to put the phone receiver on the modem to get the data. I mean, and so when we had all that like that, I mean, nobody thought two shakes about splitting the money. There was nothing.
If they're offering 6%, they think they're giving it all to you until you explain to them how it splits up. So I don't even see where the difference comes from. So
and you should always explain to the seller how it splits, because they do think you're getting the whole.
Exactly. And so when these people signed the listing agreement, they knew that they were signing up for 6%. Doesn't matter who it goes to. If the selling agent took it all, you know, but that's the whole point of the MLS is the co-op.
Yep, absolutely. So I don't really understand where this is coming from. It kind of worries me. I'd like to see it just go away. But the fact that RE/MAX, I mean, we're looking at over $1 billion already has been made by these class action lawsuits. I mean,
I wish they wouldn't even have settled. I think it would have been better if they wouldn't have.
Yeah, yes. I agree. They should not have settled. And, you know, if they want to throw their money away and settle, that's fine. But what worries me is the statement that they will adjust their business practices, because how are you going to do that? What does that mean? Okay. Because when we didn't have a MLS like we have it today, sellers were paying bonuses to buyer agents to come bring their buyers. And now they're fussing about having to just pay the buyer agent altogether. It doesn't make sense to me at all. It just doesn't make sense. And
seems like it must have been a lawyer on the other side that got it started. It'd be nice to know that.
Yeah, it would be. It really would be. And with everything else that's going on at NAR right now, I mean, there's just a lot going on out in the business. So that one of the last things I want to say to you is just go sell real estate. Okay. It's over there. And Jennifer, you're reading about it. I'm reading about it. Folks are staying on top of it. We'll let you know what you need to do. But I did notice that some folks had still been putting 0 here. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come out, because you cannot do that with the new Code of Ethics Standard of Practice 12-1. You have got to negotiate compensation.
Unless you're gonna work for free.
Unless you're gonna, I mean, if you don't want to get paid at all, then you can, okay? But if you want to get paid, then you've got to put something in that blank. That's just the way it is now. Okay? All right, guys, y'all have a good weekend.
You too, Susan. Thanks.
All righty, talk to you soon.
All righty. Have a great day.
All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
Bye, bye.